All right, we are live, we are live, we are live, we are live. I'm gonna play a little theme song real quick, and we will be right back.
I watched the ball drop in Times Square on the TV 10 years. I ain't just leave, man. Like, this stuff is real.
So it's Soapbox Heroes on Facebook. Add us, like us, share us. We debate, and we have a great time. So check us out this week.
And I don't even like to say nag, and I'm just keeping it 100. If you're going to act one way, I'm going to act one. It's like a cause and effect situation.
Now, a lot of people want to start a business with a great idea, and they don't have no cash. That's typically not going to happen.
That preliminary work, okay? Because I call that's the pre-finals, whatever. You ain't in the finals yet, so you know.
Y'all have to lie to make yourself seem like you're not a hoe. Everybody knows.
So many of our people are so lost.
Encourage them to build a support system.
But these women is right. They're writing books. They're doing the most.
It is a cash cow for each separate
Horrible approach. You know, to come at her and say, "Oh man, you know, you got a fat ass."
Think about the number of hours people spend looking at screens, looking at images of other people. It's shot up since the 1980s.
But you're calling her name behind her back for her choice.
Again, what are you? Let the people know what you are before we
Why do we have to go around life by default guilty until proven innocent? I mean, somebody has to be the bigger person, right?
I say that it's not psychological. Just for me, it's not. It has nothing to do with that.
Now, what I want to talk about is kind of like a hate.
That are saying, love yourself the way you naturally are. Your hair is beautiful. You can wear a wig. You can wear braids. You can wear whatever you want to wear. And I have a 3-year-old that I'm trying to teach that lesson to.
But I noticed the same thing. I think it play a big part.
So I have to open it up this way so I can open up the floodgates to the truth.
Soapbox Heroes got to start it right here to address this issue.
Wait. Hold on 1 second. Don't leave. Let me say this. The views represented by the guest on the show are not a direct representation of Soapbox Heroes. With that being said, go ahead and grab your pen, paper, popcorn, whatever you need. Sit here for a while. Join in with us. Become a part of the show. This is Soapbox Heroes. We dive in and go deep. Let's go. How's it going, everybody? My name is Tyrone Irvin, and this is Soapbox Heroes. Today, we are going to be talking about sexual consent. Sometime during our intro, I think that I dropped a couple people, so we are going to add them back real fast, having a couple technical difficulties. But yeah, we're going to talk about sexual consent because, there you go, Bobby. We're going to talk about sexual consent because this is something that is real prevalent in society, and it seems like I don't know if rules are changing or if people are starting to notice different things, but we're going to go and try to set some standards. We're going to try to get some answers, get some opinions, and see what people think. So we're going to start off going around and asking everybody a question. First, Bobby G, go ahead. Let everybody know who you are.
Hi, I am Bobby G, hailing from Houston, Texas. I think I'm solo in the city right now. Writer extraordinaire, and everything I do for the culture.
Everything you do for the culture. Writer extraordinaire, what are you writing?
My debut novel is Fuego. I'm currently working on the sequel, Inferno, which should drop very soon. My genre is typically mystery suspense, but I'm actually delving into some other projects right now. I'm trying comedy for the first time, so we'll see how this goes.
Comedy and mystery suspense.
Comedy.
That's a nice.
Yeah, I do it all.
That's a nice combination. That's a nice combination. David Pace. You there, David? Can you hear me, David?
Yeah.
How are you, David? David, you want to take a second to introduce yourself, let everybody know where you're from?
Who is that, me?
No, I'm David.
David, Monty, we're going to add you in 30 minutes, Monty, when we get another lady on.
Okay.
Okay. We'll see you soon, man.
What up, Monty? What's up, David?
We'll see you in
What's
about
up?
30 minutes, Monty.
All right.
Go ahead, David. Let everybody know who you are.
What's up? I'm David Pace. I'm from Riverside, California, currently in Long Beach. Check out my YouTube page, Devante Comedy. That's Divante Comedy. If you guys like some original hip hop, check it out.
Devante Comedy, do you do comedy on your show or on your page?
That was the plan. I haven't yet. That's what I really want to do. So I'm trying. I've thrown a little bit on there, but it's mostly music.
It's mostly music. Maybe you can help Bobby G out with the comedy section of the new book
Do a
that
little
she's writing.
collaboration.
Right, or she could help me or something.
Somebody
We
can
can
help
each
somebody.
other. We can help each other, David.
Right on. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm great. I'm so happy to see you.
You too.
All right. Curtis, what's up, man? You want to take a second? Let everybody know who you are, where you coming from?
Yeah, I'm Curtis Brown from Long Beach, California. Friends with Daryl. Not much to me. I just work with computers. Boring.
Not much to you.
I think
There's a
that's
lot to
freaking
everybody.
exciting. Computers are important. I can't do shit right now because I don't have my computer. So you're valuable to society. Fuck that shit.
Well, thank you.
There you go. Hey, I'm gonna go with what she says. You're valuable to society. Then we got Prince. Prince, you want to take a second, let everybody know where you're from?
I'm from Long Beach, California. I live in Redlands right now, the whitest place on earth. It's trash, but you know, I'm out here for the
Wait. You said Redlands is the whitest place on earth?
Bro, Redlands is so fucking white, man. This shit is crazy.
How white is it? No.
I live in Redlands. Go to Logan, Utah. You'll take that back fast. Logan, Utah.
Oh no, yeah, no doubt. I'm just playing. I know, it's places whiter than this, but it's.
I mean,
you know,
it's
coming
right
from
next to
Long
Loma
Beach,
Linda.
It is right.
Yeah, right next to Loma Linda. And when
Which is one of the blue cities. Like no alcohol, no nothing. It's all like 7-Day Adventists or something out there. I lived in Loma Linda for a second.
Yeah, Loma Linda. But at least you got some good hospital next to you. Well, all right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and start rolling into the topic. And again, today's topic is sexual consent. Oh, and we're going to have another person. We're going to have a few people add as we go along. And so we're just going to get started with what we have here. We're going to have Benita add later. And then we're going to have the gentleman that just came on that we have to come back in 30 minutes. He's going to add after that. But why don't we go ahead and get started? And I'll get started with the biggest person on my personal screen, which is David. David, let me ask you this. Let's just start off with sexual consent. What is sexual consent? Let's get a baseline. What do you think sexual consent is?
When you know for sure that the other person wants to do this with you.
All right. Let's go over to Bobby. What is sexual consent, Bobby?
I agree. When you know positively that it's 100% that you have the green light for sexual intercourse or any sexual act.
So you got 100% with the green light. All right, Prince. What is sexual consent?
Yeah, same thing. Whenever, as soon as you know, when you know that they want to have sex with you or whatever, they want to engage in some kind of sexual act with you, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're not guessing. You know, that's sexual consent.
All right. Curtis, what about you? What is sexual consent?
Man, nowadays you got to have a contract signed out. You guys both have to have it notarized. It's a lot more to it nowadays.
It's a lot more to it nowadays. All right. Well, let me get to the next question. Is there a such thing as nonverbal consent? Like, you know, when you used to give somebody the eye back in the day, when you used to give them that eye, is that consent, Bobby?
Yeah, I would say somewhat that you can go off of nonverbal cues. The thing is where it becomes problematic is when there's ambiguity, and that
Okay.
there's too much of a pattern of people not stopping because of the ambiguity. That they feel like that's some sort of wiggle room to work within. Like, well, maybe this also means yes. If you're having to have this kind of internal dialogue this internal monologue, or you are figuring out in your mind how to make this be affirmative, then you're running the risk of pushing you're running the risk of being void of consent. But you could definitely say if somebody is touching on your person, or if she's straddling your lap, if she pulled it out for you, if she's having you touch her, there's definitely, all sorts of nonverbal hints that, this person wants this to go down.
Yeah.
What do you think, Prince? What do you think about the nonverbal consent? Do you think it's smart?
No, yeah, of course. I mean, I've been with my wife for 11 years now. I've been married for 6 years. Before that, I was in a 6-7 year relationship. So, and that's not to say I didn't, I was a dog at one point in time in my life before all of this, so I did deal with a lot of women too. But but when you dealing with your wife, with your husband and all that stuff, y'all not, my wife does not say, yes, let's have intercourse. Like, she doesn't say yes all the time. Like, sometimes I ask her, like, can we, should we? And she goes, yeah, whatever, right? But but most of the time it's just we're kissing and we're doing what we do, and then we have sex, right? Like, that's weird. I feel like it's awkward. It makes the situation awkward sometimes if the question is actually brought up, right? So we just kind of go off of how we feel. But like Bobby said, if you are engaging in, if you guys are kissing and she's rubbing you, you're rubbing her, and everything is back and forth the whole time, and then whatever, you take it to the next level and you actually, put your penis in or whatever the case may be, or, whatever, then it, like, at that point, to me, if she doesn't say, like, literally says no, then what do you expect to do to, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want the guy to feel like? Like, if she ain't pushing you off or like something, she doesn't necessarily have to say no. But if she ain't trying to like get away or something, because it's hard to, it's like I said, it's just unrealistic to think that people are just all of a sudden going to start like actually coming out and being like, okay, can we have sex now? Like, that shit ain't gonna happen, dude. Like, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. I'm just saying that I don't see it ever happening. I don't care how much the climate changes. That's not realistic.
I don't even think that's the expectation.
You don't think that's the expectation?
Right. No,
No.
I agree. I agree.
That's not the expectation.
I'm not saying that is the expectation. I'm just saying that, like my brother said a minute ago, he was saying, like, shit, nowadays you got to get a contract because that's how people are starting to feel. That's what I'm saying. You're right. I don't think that's the expectation, but I think a lot of people are starting to feel like, a lot of men especially are starting to feel like, well, damn, I don't know, I should get a contract. You know what I'm saying? So that, all I'm saying is, I just don't think that at any point in time it's going to get to that point to where we're even going to be close to doing anything like contracts, or even people having to be like, yes, we can have sex. Like, I don't think it's ever going to happen like that.
All right, let me ask you, Curtis, what do you think about nonverbal consent? Giving somebody the eye, or if you feel like somebody is feeling you, what do you feel about that? You think that's a cue to go ahead and make your move?
Well, I mean, I have to agree with everyone who said what everyone said so far. Like, we all know when you feel something and someone's feeling something, you can tell by body language, like how Bobby said, when she's feeling on you or straddling you or something like that. Like, I believe it's there. I understand it. It's just getting to a point now where someone could do that. someone could be very into you and be straddling you and grabbing and touching on you, and then who knows if they wake up the next morning and they feel a little different, or they talk to somebody and that somebody don't like you, and they put a little bug in their ear, and then they start tripping like, well, maybe I didn't really, you know, maybe I didn't say yes, maybe I didn't say no, but I really didn't want to. Maybe I was touching them, but maybe I just didn't want to. Like, I don't know. Like I said before, I agree with what everyone's saying, but it's just, it's getting to a point where, I don't know, people can flip flop on you. So it's like, as a guy at least, or as I feel, you run a chance of taking those chances where it's like, hey, she's feeling me, everything's going on, so I'm gonna do this. But you're still gonna take that chance where maybe a day later or a couple days later, you hear something because you felt a little different the day after. I don't know. I'm getting sidetracked here, but yeah. I believe there's a nonverbal consent. I believe it's sketchy.
It's sketchy. David, what do you think about nonverbal consent?
It's fine. I think it exists. I think it's fine. There can be nonverbal consent, you know. You can tell.
Nonverbal consent. Now I'm going to say this to you guys. Bill Cosby said that he was a wonderful judge at nonverbal consent, a wonderful judge of character. So what do you do what happens if somebody thinks that another person, and Bobby, I'm going to mute you because I can hear all your background, but whenever you talk, just let me
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay.
Okay, and so what do you do when you misread somebody's verbal cues? What if somebody's just being nice and you think that means they want to have sex? What do we do in them situations? Anybody?
Oh, that's
go ahead. What do you?
Okay.
Because people pick up wrong signals.
Okay, and so I think we may be approaching this conversation the wrong way. It's not as much as having to dissect every little action to find out if it means consent. It's about understanding when you do not have consent. So while it does happen that some women, I hate to say cry rape or cry sexual assault, some women claim to have been assaulted or violated who are absolutely lying. But in more cases, and that's just statistically, in more cases, it's not happening so prevalently that men need to be on edge like this. What I believe is the problem, I'm going to get back to the question. What I believe is the problem, I liken it to when you're driving. I'm less worried about being pulled over or about what will happen if I am pulled over when everything in my car is correct. But as soon as my stickers go out, I get a little anxious because I know that this is something that I can be ticketed for or fined for. With men, I think a lot of men are getting on edge because they know they had in their lives or currently existing in this gray area where they're not necessarily getting approval or consent from the women that they are attempting to have sex with before they, go ahead and push forward, for lack of a better word. And so you can try to gauge it, all you want to and all of that. And no is a no. Resistance is resistance. I don't think anybody is confused on what resistance looks like. And so we don't need to try to pick apart what it looks like if you are given the green light. You know what no means.
Right.
You know what rejection looks like.
Right. My question was more of the lines of, a guy thinks that you like him, but you really don't. I'm just talking about the potential.
But not even sexually. Okay.
Or even sexually. A man and a woman or two people are vibing, and one person thinks that the other person is liking them, so they feel like it, but the other person might not be feeling that, because we're still talking about the nonverbal sexual cues or whatever. So So like I said, so if a man feels like a woman is feeling him, but she's really not, I'm asking, is that a danger of a nonverbal sexual consent?
I mean, there's always room for misunderstandings and mix-ups, and so you're not really in danger until you start trying to make this sexual. So just because you're being extra flirtatious and whatever, and maybe she's going along with it, but she doesn't really like you, none of that's the issue. Like, no one, you can't be. I don't think anybody's worried about being, charges being pressed against them for being, for staring at somebody too long. That's not the case. It's when you're trying to make some sort of sexual act happen. And so if the female is sending mixed messages, right? If her body if she's just present, but she's still saying no, or she's not saying no, but she's showing resistance, that's what I'm saying. Now there's some ambiguity. You don't push through that ambiguity. That's a good time to start asking questions. Like, damn, I thought you were feeling me. Am I reading this wrong? But you can't just insist that something happens. When you start insisting something happens because you rather pay attention to one aspect of this engagement than the other, that's when you're entering a danger zone. When it starts feeling like you doing too, like, hey, this is not as easy as it should be. Because sex, when it's consensual, should be very fluid. When she wants you and you want her, it shouldn't be this whole, just struggle, like actual struggle. It may be a cute little flirty cat and mouse or whatever, but when it actually gets with, like, you're scooting over and I have to move over too and all that type of stuff, like, that's when you need to start opening your mouth and sound to see, hey, what's really going on here?
All right. I can dig it. Anybody got something they want to add to that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. I totally agree with her on that.
All right, here, Bobby, let me give you one tally mark right here for the Soapbox Hero. All right, let me ask you this, Curtis. I've read some women say that if they regret sex after having it with the man, then it's considered rape. What do you think about that? Could it be considered rape if a woman regrets it after? And this is something that I've been reading kind of actually prevalently.
Yep, I've heard that.
I mean, it's really whatever she's thinking. That's her. I mean, if that's how she feels, then it's hard really to dispute it.
It's hard to dispute
whether you forcefully took it or not.
Yep.
What do you think, David?
I don't think so.
Yes, thank you.
Try to lie about it. Ask the question again. Sorry, I had something, but I got sidetracked.
Okay. The question is, I've read that women say that if they have sex with the man and they regret it later or they regret it the next day or whatever, that it could be considered rape. Do you think that it could be considered rape if she just regrets having sex with the man?
That case, like 16 times.
You what?
I said no, because if that was the case, then I've been raped like 16 times.
So you've regretted having sex with somebody the next day?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
What do you think, Prince? Do you think that constitutes rape if somebody just regrets it the next day or regrets it later?
No, it doesn't constitute rape. But the thing about what's going, and I hate, we say this a lot, like, in general, and I'm pretty sure this has been a thing that's been said throughout the ages. So we always like fall back on this pressure, like nowadays, like shit is so different, right? But I try not to get into that, but I do see a cultural shift in our particular culture, not across the world, but definitely in our culture right now. I was reading an article, and they did a poll in the article that was like, they asked like millennial women and they asked like older, like, like middle-aged women, like your mom's age women and shit like that, right? And they were like asking them like what is considered like sexual assault and what is considered harassment and stuff like that. And one of the, just for an example, this is how like how the gray area has expanded so much, or whatever you want to call it. One of the questions was, they asked like if a man says you're beautiful, is that harassment? And like 65% of millennial women were like, yes. And I was like, what? And like 20% of older women was like, and like 80% of older women was like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that, like I said, like I hate to be that person that's like, well, nowadays, or y'all youngsters, and like I hate doing that shit, and I don't buy into that. But in that particular case, I was like, okay, that was the first time I ever was like, all right, something is happening right now. And this was like at the height of the Me Too movement stuff, when it was like really, really, really popping, right? And I was like, wow, this is like really deep, that it has gotten to the point to where women are starting to feel like if you just say hi to them, it's harassment. And then I thought about it and I was like, it's not really the woman's fault for feeling like that though. It's our fault, like as men, because we harass the fuck out of women, just generally speaking. So now they're so hypersensitive that anything we do is like, no, leave me alone. No, and then we wonder like why is it like that? But it's like A, because we live in a rape culture and they don't feel protected, and we don't do anything to protect them when we can, and then B, we just go overboard, generally speaking. The majority, and I'm not saying like any man in this particular chat is guilty of this, but I'm just saying men in general, we just tend to go overboard. You know what I'm saying? And that is go ahead.
Tyrone, can I say that David made a really good point? I just wanted to interject that, and so I can circle back when it's my turn to speak. But David actually made a really good point when he said
Go ahead.
And so what I want to say to women is, rules stay consistent. It doesn't change strictly because you're a female and you get to say this. And so, especially if we're talking about equality, which is a whole different conversation. But if you're willing to say, hey, regret of a sexual encounter makes this assault, then the man gets to say that too. But we wouldn't receive that. We would be so upset if we were charged with rape because David regrets his one night stand or whatever, and then then you get subpoenaed or indicted or whatever on a rape allegation. You would be so upset because then you would fall back into your femininity and say like, oh, that, what, like whatever. Pretty much like he needs to be thankful that I gave him some. And so I think women need to be very mindful that essentially what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You can't just say these things because you feel a certain way. You have to. It's important to understand what's going on. It's not simply that you regretted a decision, because if that's the case, a man could easily say that too. And so that alone, I feel like it kind of disintegrates that argument that just regret means that it's rape. Because in the same way that a woman would not say the way that she was aggressively coming on.
A man can regret it as well.
Yeah, a man can regret it as well. It's just the same way that a man could say, hey, Susan over here is hella aggressive. Like Susan in the office will not leave me alone. She's always in my cubicle. She's always trying to get me to go out for drinks. If you want to call or whatever, she's always saying how good I look. If the woman gets to say, hey, that's harassment, the guy gets to say, I feel harassed too. But women don't typically assume that role. They don't accept that responsibility. So we really have to be mindful that when I say these things, if the shoe was on the other foot, would I be willing to accept that this man is saying that I raped him or that I assaulted him?
It's a two-way street. Curtis, I see you down there smiling. Is Susan in your cubicle trying to get with you? Is Susan harassing you?
She hit that little comment.
I see you laugh. Hey, Prince, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned something that I've been hearing a lot. Rape culture. What is rape culture? What is rape as a culture?
When we as the dominant, when I say the dominant, this is a patriarchal society, so it's dominated by men, generally speaking. I'm not going to get into the race part of it, but it's dominated by men, generally speaking, right? So if men dominate the society, then things that favor men they tend to be in the forefront. So if a woman comes out and says that people are sexually assaulted, the first thing people want to do is throw shade at the woman and say, oh, I don't know, man. And why, especially if I'm for example, if it's the same person. And they go, Like somebody said, Usher raped me. And Usher, why would Usher have to rape you? Usher can get any woman he wants. You know what I'm saying? Like that's our this knee-jerk reaction is just like the woman is lying, right off the bat. Oh, she's lying, and then the population, the general population, shame her and we put her down, especially now with social media, we bully her and call her, we do all that stuff, right? So and then nothing ends up happening to the man. The man gets a slap on the wrist, and then everything goes back to normal except for that woman that was actually assaulted, right? And that's pretty much what a rape culture is. And when we just allow these things to keep happening to women, and we don't protect them, and also we push it in a lot of ways. We push rape. See it a lot of times in movies and in media and stuff like that. A lot of subliminal stuff, and we blame women for every fucking thing that happens to them. It's like, oh, why was her skirt so short? Why would you go to Mike Tyson room at 3:00 in the morning? Why, you know what I'm saying? Like things of that nature. Like all of these things just shows me that we live in a society that where men we don't give a fuck about what happens to women, generally speaking. You know what I'm saying? And that's what when I say we live in a rape culture, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about.
All right. Anybody else got something? What do you think about the rape culture, David? What is a rape culture to you, and do we live in a rape culture, in your opinion?
Yeah, we've got a lot of women talking about how they're being coerced into sex, which isn't necessarily rape, but it depends. I mean, it is or it isn't. Depends on how bad they're being coerced. If it was like with words or physically. But yeah, it definitely seems like we're part of a rape culture now. People are aware of it and talking about it. So I think more people should be talking about it when it happens, and I think more women should be held to like serious prosecution if they lie about it. So that way, there aren't liars telling fibs. There are like people coming forth with the truth sooner than they normally would.
Bobby, what did you want to say? I seen you shake your head.
So this is where I don't fully agree with David. I think, so what's unfortunate about this is how I see in a lot of men, they want rejection. Rejection has to look a certain way. The lack of consent has to fit a very specific script, or else it doesn't count. And so the fact that I am not, throwing this drink in your face or slapping you across the face, kneeing you in the balls, whatever it is, well, if she's doing anything shy of that, if she's doing anything shy of cursing me out, then it's not a no. It's not a real no. If she's not fighting me off of her, it's not a real no. The failure to give consent can come in very different forms. I think what men need to understand about women, or let me just speak on myself. When I encounter a man, I've already lost this fight, and I don't mean sexually. I'm saying toe to toe. You are going to win if you decide to have your way with me.
Yep.
I can come out. Maybe I can get away, but I'm saying this fight physically. If we take sex out of the equation, if I'm just like, hey, nigga, you want to do something? Let's square up. I'm gonna get my ass beat against most men, unless he's just the sorriest fighter in the world and he trips on a rock. I'm gonna lose this fight. And so when you are alone with a man, it can be intimidating. It's not just the easiest situation to navigate. And I think men have decided that they're so, approachable, or you're just so not that guy that there's no way that I could be that uncomfortable in your presence. It can get that uncomfortable. And you have this idea because of rape culture and because of how women are conditioned, that you have to be somewhat docile. You have to be meek. You have to be polite. Don't make anybody feel uncomfortable. Let's not make this awkward. Because another thing about this is we're not just talking about the guy that jumps out the bushes and decides to assault you. This is the homeboy. This was the guy that's trying to be friends with benefits. He's tired of being friend zoned. He never wanted to be your friend anyway. This is the guy that this is your your best friend's brother. It's these personal relationships that all of a sudden you find yourself that, hey, he's trying to make this thing sexual, that you won't necessarily feel comfortable screaming and sounding alarms. You're trying to, like I said, be so-called cool about it. Okay. And so it's not always going to look like, you can't rape me. It's not always going to look like that. Sometimes it's going to be like, hey, chill out. Don't stop playing. Stop. And it may be a giggle or maybe a smile because you're trying to keep this from escalating. Because if it escalates, there's a good chance that you are actually that guy. And I don't know firsthand. I mean, I don't know off top if you're that guy. Just like you don't know if I'm crazy when you're dealing with me. I don't know if you're actually this bad guy, this sexual delinquent. And so I could try to do the whole fight and slap you across the face. Now, who's to say that as soon as I do that, he doesn't get livid and decide to body slam me on the floor? Because that's real life.
So you're saying it's a lot of fear for women in situations, just even when you encounter men that men might not know about?
You run through the gamut, and I'm saying me personally, you run through the gamut of how this could go. Okay, I'm in close quarters. You're already thinking, I've messed up. Okay, so this apparently, I'd agree to Netflix and chill. Apparently, that's very suggestive. I'm not trying to chill like that. I actually came to watch this movie. I actually came over just to eat dinner, whatever it is. Okay, now how do I get out of the situation? He's cool. I don't want to just curse him out. You go through that. Not every woman is just a firecracker. I'm not a firecracker. However much, conviction I speak with and all of that, I'm not that chick. I just want the situation to be over. I want to be able to say no, and you listen to that. What's unfortunate is if you're not that firecracker, it doesn't resonate that person is saying no, that person is showing resistance.
So you shouldn't have to scream and yell for somebody to understand.
You shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be this just hard, aggressive no. You should be, if you're being pushed away, if she's trying to move away from you, if she's trying to pull her pants back up, it's all these, and that's what I think men don't like to. What I'm noticing, I'm not accusing anybody. What I'm noticing, men don't like to accept that as assault. They don't like to accept that as, hey, this is a little bit rapey. They like, I've been told before, oh, you're trying to be a good girl. Holy shit, no, I'm not. I don't want to have sex with you. I'm not trying to be anything. Don't worry, ain't nobody, I ain't about to judge you. I ain't about to think you a hoe or nothing. I wasn't worried about you thinking I'm a hoe. I don't want to have sex with you. But damn, we have class together come Monday. We work together come Monday. This was just an office party. This was just this situation. I don't want to have to make this a thing so I can go back to work and I have to awkwardly sit, across from you like this. I don't want to have to go through all of this. You tried to diffuse the situation. It shouldn't have to be all of that, because let it be another. Men seem to understand when it's another man. When it's another man. Men seem to understand the word no loud and clear. And I don't just mean in sex. Anything. No seems to clearly mean no when you're dealing with, I'm good, thank you, when you're dealing with opposition from another man.
With another man?
So no, you can't borrow my shoes. No, I'm not about to loan you this money. No, da-da-da-da-da-da. You seem to really understand that. But when it comes to a woman, it's a lot of, girl, why are you acting like that?
All right. Let me ask Curtis. Curtis, when you hear no, is it do you take it as no, or can it be a gray area when a woman is saying no, but her actions are saying yes? What happens in those situations? Because a lot of fellas run into that where a woman will say no, but she's still giggling, laughing, taking off her clothes, and we could get into that. What happens when those things happen? And we'll come back around to you, Bobby, because I know you have something to say about that too. What do you think?
I would treat that whole situation like a bait car situation. Hey, once you hear no, just leave it. I mean, you can still sit and talk and try to feel the situation out. Maybe you could turn that no to a yes, but I mean, you got to respect the no and just kind of hold off on the physical part. Maybe you just refrain to talk and see if that no turns to yes, but other than that, it knows a no.
What do you think, Prince? You guys are kissing, you're getting hot and heavy. She's saying no, but she's still moving forward. What do you do in that situation?
I stop instantly. I'll be honest, man. I mean,
I mean, I've been in a lot of situations with women or whatever, like sexually, like I'm sure everybody in here has had sex with different people, whatever. I've never had that situation. I've never had a girl tell me no while still like physically trying to have sex with me. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit would be the most. I'll be like no, but as soon as I hear no, I stop. Like I'm I'm really big on like I like for them to want it as much as I want it. You know what I'm saying? Like I fucking hate feeling like I don't want to feel like I'm taking it from you. I don't want to feel like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to feel like any of that. Like I want it to be like damn near like she like ripped off my clothes. Like that's the type of shit I like. I don't like it to be like I'm trying extra hard. So I might be a little different when it comes to that. But like, yeah, if she says no, I don't care if she is like, I mean, honestly, here's what I'm saying. I'm giving an extreme situation. I'm just going to make something up, but I don't even know if this has ever happened, right? If she says no and then grabs my penis and puts it inside of her, okay, then I'm still probably going to stop and be like, are you sure? Like, what the fuck? Why did you say no then? You know what I mean? Like, about that, but you know, that's probably the only time I would ever even consider going forward. But other than that, if she says no, I don't care if she's giggling no, I don't care if she's laughing when she say no, I don't care if she's smiling when she say no. When she says no, you stop. And like Curtis said, at the very least, you have a conversation. At the very least, it's time to talk and be like, hey, what's up? You know, and maybe you don't gotta like stop and like really have like a heart to heart with her, like a fucking after school session. But you definitely should stop and be like, hey, like, are you, you know what I'm saying? Like you good, or you know what I mean? Like, okay, or cool, and just keep it pushing.
All right, David, you guys are getting hot. You guys are getting heavy. You guys went out, been a good night. You feel a vibe. You think she feels a vibe. You guys are kissing. She's kissing you back. And you go to pull down her pants. She grabs a little bit like, stop, David. Stop, David. But she's still giving you that vibe. What do you do in that situation?
I'm very literal. If I hear a no, I'm going to just take it as a no. I probably missed out on encounters because they were playing, and I take it very literally.
So you take it very literally? Is that because of the climate nowadays, or is that just a general rule?
No, you know, it's always been like that. High school, we were like at like a convention in like Seattle, and we just ended up having dry sex. You know what I'm saying? It's like she gave me the no. I was still a virgin, but I thought we were about to do it. You know what I'm saying? And it got like that, but I got like the no, but we just kept going and didn't take it to a sexual place. So sometimes you can do that. You can get the no and just keep advancing. And like someone else said, it could turn into a yes. And if it doesn't, don't do anything. Just keep doing what she's allowing you to do. You don't have to stop completely just because you get a no. You can be like, this round in third base, I guess, for the rest of this encounter, whatever the case may be.
All right. Maybe it's that the man in some of these situations is wanting what they want so bad that they don't stop with a no. And I'm going to go back with you, David. Ant-Man says, if you tell a female to get up from riding you before you bust and she continues to ride, is that considered rape?
Fuck yes. Yes. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, David. Is that considered rape?
Me?
Yeah. I'm going to ask everybody. I'm going to just stick with you because you gave the last answer, so I'm going to let you get it and then move on to everybody else. You in the middle of intercourse and you tell her to get off of you and she doesn't. Is that rape?
Who'd you ask that to?
David.
Oh, David.
No?
No, that's how I was conceived, man. Like, you can't hit a...
You broke up something. What'd you say?
I said I can't hate on that. That's how I was conceived.
That's how you were conceived? What do you think, Prince? If you're right in the middle of intercourse and you tell her to stop and she don't, is that considered rape?
I mean, probably technically speaking, but I wouldn't even think anything like that. Like, that would never even cross my mind in that situation. Like, oh, she raped me.
Probably
I'm going to say no for me personally. Huh?
No, it was consensual the whole time up until that moment. It was consensual up until that moment.
Right, Curtis.
I'm not gonna. Me personally, I wouldn't consider it.
Curtis, is it rape?
That's a tough one, man. I wouldn't say. I'd have to say no.
You'd have to say it isn't rape. All right, Bob, go
You're
ahead.
saying if I told her to get off and she didn't get off, right?
Right.
Yeah. Nah.
No? All
Nah,
right.
even if you did say it was, everyone's gonna look at you funny.
Well, go ahead, Bobby, jump in. Is it right?
Okay, I say
Go
You
ahead.
hear me now?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I say absolutely yes. And so rape, the definition of the word or of assault doesn't change depending on gender. Because we exist in this rape culture, because men and women are programmed differently, and I mean by societal norms, we're programmed differently. Most men would not identify that as rape because, hey, you pussy for not whatever you're supposed to want this. Any part of sex you're supposed to be very pleased with. You're not allowed to have regrets. You're not allowed to not want it. You're not allowed to say no. You're not allowed to not be able to get it up. You're not allowed to do anything when it comes to sex but have sex. It's pretty much the standard for men. And so if a man is ever, even down to, like I said, the example I gave before, to the Susan in the cubicle who won't stop shooting her shot, you're supposed to like that attention. You're welcome that somebody finds you attractive. That's how society treats men. And so most men, like as the panel has demonstrated, wouldn't consider that assault of any sort because, why you're not supposed to. And so I just want to throw that idea out there first. If a baby came from that, you would be a little pissy off of this woman that you demanded get off of you because you knew it was about to go down. But everybody would hold you responsible, like, oh, if you weren't trying to have a baby, you shouldn't have done X, Y, Z. And so the word stands. There's a standard both ways, regardless of gender, first of all. Whether you want to, because, hey, even why this has blown up the way it does is because rape is a hard word to say, and it's hard to say that you have been a victim. Nobody actually wants to be granted, there's exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, nobody wants to be a victim. It's hard to say that you were victimized. It's hard to not blame yourself and not take on responsibility when you shouldn't. And so now we're in a period where now we're starting to say, hey, I'm taking on too much responsibility for this encounter. This was not consensual, but absolutely, if anytime anybody says no and it goes past that, male or female, it is an assault is now occurring. And so, if you're not mad about it, that's your personal, experience. But an assault is occurring. I also wanted to go back to the whole, what if she is showing, I'm sorry about the background noise, what if she's showing that she wants you, like she's grabbing at you or whatever, but she's saying stop? I would advise any man to stop immediately because now it looks like this is either set up or you're dealing with maybe a woman that may not be so mentally stable. And so you have to think about the aftermath of this. And so you can't be so desperate for sex and so desperate for the green light that you push past all of that confusion. That right there is a setup for something to go bad in the future. So maybe it doesn't mean a rape charge. It could mean crazy baby mama in the future. I think it's funny that we participate in these acts and we get the red flags. We have you get with somebody where even during that moment, it's like she's being weird. She's not quite there. She's asking for me to do a lot of weird shit. And then come Monday or come 9 months later, you're like, I can't believe this person's acting crazy with my child, or I can't believe this is that. Like, why didn't you believe it? Didn't she show that she was a little off
in the first place?
9 months ago?
Right.
Like, you have to be willing to stop and assess the situation. Sex is wonderful. It can do it can get you into some fuck shit, though. It can mess some things up. So you might want to go ahead and take the time to properly evaluate what's going on. And so, like I said, anything that looks like no, go ahead and be like, hey, I don't do this whole rape fantasy. I'm not trying to participate in whatever you're trying to get me into. I need to know that you actually want to have sex with me. If that kills the mood, it kills the mood. But you rather be a lame, you rather kill the mood than have whatever sort of problem that's going to come your way after the fact.
Right.
There's too many women out here, and you're outnumbered by women. It's too many women out here willing to give it up. It's too many women willing to give it up for you to be trying to force your way with a woman just because she's right there. Somebody else will be right there.
I can dig it. I, oh, you muted yourself, or you got quiet.
I'm
Oh yeah, I just got quiet. I get quiet sometimes.
Oh,
David.
I want to know what's up, David. What's up with the double standard, David, Prince, and Curtis? If a man is having sex with a woman, and she tells him to stop, is that considered rape if he doesn't stop?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead, Prince.
And like Bobby was saying before, in this society or in this world, we men and women are physically built different. So the threat is very real for a woman. That's why when she says no, it has to be taken more seriously than when a woman says no. To me, like that's why I don't get into the letter of the law, because the law don't mean shit to me, to be honest with you. You got a gang of fucking laws I don't agree with that are immoral, so I don't give a fuck about that law shit. So I'm only talking about to me personally, right? There is a very real threat of bodily harm to a woman if a woman says no to a man. You know what I'm saying? Like so that's why I don't look at rape or assault the same way when the tables are turned. Morally speaking, or you want to get into the right or wrong, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we know it's really assault. If you say no, if a man says no, and a woman keeps going, yeah, it's assault. Okay, cool. But as far as the law is concerned, as far as the court is concerned, right? But like the men here, like we all can agree that if a woman says stop, I mean, if a man says like stop, I'm about to come, and they don't, keep going, and if she keeps going, I don't know any man that would be like, hey, like come back to the homies, like, hey, dog, my girl raped me, dude. Like I told her to stop, she kept pumping, like no, like what the fuck, like that doesn't happen. But the main reason is because a part of it is what Bobby was saying for sure. The societal norms is that we, like, if we don't perform, then we get laughed at and so on and so forth, right? Like that's our shame that we might have to live with. And then, but the other reason is because the physical threat isn't there for us, so we don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how many times, like David was saying, I had sex with women and I regretted it, or even while I was having sex with them, I was like, fuck, I don't want to be doing this shit. But if I don't do it, she might tell everybody that I was this and I was that or whatever, and I think about all that shit and I still do it. I never ever one moment ever thought about like going to the police or going to my, you know what I'm saying? Like ever nothing like that. Like that's not how it works for men. And I think that for me personally, the main reason, because it's just not a physical threat. Like I know if I really, really, really wanted to stop it, I would have just been like, hey, get off me. And it would have been over. You know what I'm saying? But for a woman, if she says, hey, get off me, and a man goes, no, then what the fuck is she gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's the main difference, and that's a big difference. There is a double standard, but there's a reason why there's a double standard. It's not just like based in this letter of the law stuff. Like I'm just talking about like physically and morally speaking on a personal level. Nah, man, it ain't the same, dude. It ain't the same. But if a dude, can I say it real quick? If a dude was to come to me and say he got assaulted in that way, I wouldn't laugh at him. Like when Terry Crews said he got assaulted, I was one of the few men that didn't laugh at him. I didn't think like that was funny. I thought that fucking sucked. And I would hate to be in that situation. And we could all say, oh, I would have knocked that dude out. I'm Terry Crews. I'm 220 pounds, yada, yada, yada. But, I'm not in that situation. I never had a man grab my junk in front of my wife. And I don't ever want to know what that feels like. You know what I'm saying? But that was sexual assault too.
Right. Curtis, you want to add something to that? About is it a double standard that if a woman tells a man to stop and he doesn't, it's rape? But the panel says, except Bobby, that if it's the opposite, it's not rape?
It is weird because it is just like Prince said. We could easily just kind of pick her up off of us, push her off of us. We can get up, we can walk away. So I mean, it is real hard. That's a tough one, man. And plus, any guy that would step up and say that he was raped would probably, especially like by police, wouldn't be taken very seriously. So I don't know, man. Technically I guess it is rape, but I don't know who's gonna agree with that guy.
Technically, it's rape, but you don't know who's going to agree with it.
Yeah.
David, what do you think? What do you think? Is it a double standard?
Sure. If you're already having sex and then someone says to stop at the end, I don't think it's rape until they're continuously saying no and you're still going. So like this little, like a guy right before he comes, that's like not enough time. Like if a girl tells you to stop, usually you stop because you think it might be like painful or she has some kind of discomfort. So I mean, it's a gray area when you're already having consent. But then if you change your mind 90% of the way through it and you vocalize that, sure. But yeah, it's a double standard because it's really not going to be looked at as rape if it happens to a dude.
All right, Bobby, you done ordering? He ordering a large number 3 with a margarita and some fries.
My bad, y'all.
You did?
This reverse happy hour. Like, what is, like, I have to participate.
Oh, reverse happy hour. Let me ask you a question, Bobby. Let's say you there reverse happy hour and you walk up to the bar. Somebody grabs you in your butt. Is that sexual assault? Is it rape? Sexual harassment? Let's find what are the difference between the different areas of sexual assault, rape,
Wait, is
and
it sexual?
harassment.
So it's not rape. It's not
No.
rape.
Okay.
Rape is penetration. Is it sexual assault or sexual harassment? Which are close to the same thing. What am I trying to say to you? So it depends. This is where I would say it depends. If it's unwanted, if it's an unwanted advance, then yes, we are talking about sexual assault because you've touched my person. If you're saying things that I don't like, then we're talking about sexual harassment. So if I don't like this person, if I didn't want to have my butt grabbed, then yeah, it's a problem.
It's assault.
Am I? Yeah, you have violated my personal my body.
But if you're feeling the dude, it's like, go right on ahead, partner, right? So
Okay,
how the
but
fuck
see,
are we? You know what I mean? We're not mind readers.
Wait a minute.
Not mad at you, though.
Wait a minute. Yeah, but you yelled at me, David. How? Why? Why?
Because you're the only girl here, just like when I was the only white dude on the one.
Man, how'd that feel? Okay, no, but here it is though. It's always so you are taking a gamble. Is my point. You're taking a gamble. If you decide to go ahead and turn something physical, you're kind of taking the gamble if you choose to walk up to a woman and say something profane. Because it's one thing to say, "Hey, you're beautiful," which I don't think that's fair to say that that's harassment. If someone gets to say no more than
a lot of people are saying that that's harassment now.
I get that, and that's when I feel like, okay. So wait a minute. So it's a lot. I hate to, not that I'm trying to make it about race. So in this whole woke movement, sometimes we get a little too woke. Like, wait a minute, we don't just need to be mad at everything that jumps off. Like, I understand it's a lot. It's plenty of oppression to pick from that you don't need to call everything oppression. And I'm not going to get into an example or whatever, but similarly, like with feminism, okay, equality for women, women empowerment, all of that. You can't call everything being oppressed by a man. Like, you don't just get to say, you don't just get to be a victim across the board. Not everything is you being victimized. Sometimes you can get a little extra, in my opinion. Feeling a way about someone calling you beautiful is a little extra. It's not aggressive. I don't know if I've ever been aggressively called beautiful. Like, nobody's like, hey,
how
bitch,
would somebody be aggressively called beautiful?
That's what I'm saying. That's never happened to me. Like, bitch, you beautiful. Like, that's never happened. That's never. But I'm saying, so because you got called beautiful that one time, you don't get to say you're violating me. Like, I think that's being excessive. That's my personal opinion. Another woman could argue differently. I'm not in her shoes. But when it gets to the point, and I bartend, right? I hear a lot of shit. And so when it gets to the point of, hey, girl, you ever had shouting across the bar? You ever had your pussy ate from the back? Please believe you ain't had dick like this before. You ain't never had dick like this before. Shouting it across the bar. Hey, 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 you, purple hair, purple hair. You know, when it gets to be like that, that's I'm calling that harassment. Am I going to press charges? Me, probably not. Like, I hear stuff like that all the time. I hear how somebody wants to turn me out, flip me over, do whatever they want all the time. Now, where that becomes scary is when that same dude, because I'm not being aggressive, because I'm not like, you better shut the fuck up talking to me, stupid, because I'm not that chick. That same dude is in the parking lot
Yeah.
because he's decided that's a green light, and that's happened to me on numerous occasions. He's decided because I didn't cuss him out, and I'm just not that person. I don't just go cussing everybody out. I have to be pushed. I generally try to let stuff roll off my back, right? And apparently, in this culture, that means consent when it doesn't at all.
You gotta curse us out if you don't want to talk to us. You gotta curse us out.
But okay, so I get that part. I get that part for my own safety, but that's what I'm calling unfair. That I shouldn't have to do any specific thing for you to refrain from assaulting me. Because it's one thing to shout a bunch of things across the bar in public. It's another thing to wait for me by my car. I've had niggas jump into my car.
Bobby, let me ask you this. Is that common? Is that most men, or is that a marginal amount of men?
Okay, so aggression, I want to give that a short answer. I'm going to go ahead and say it's most men only because aggressive behavior plays itself out. Thank you. Plays itself out in a multitude of ways. And so from the man who's shouting at me across the bar, from the man who refuses to get out of my face, from the man who has from the several men who have decided to open my car door, jump in my car, where another man has had to say, get out of her car. Like, that's the only thing that's rescued me, is somebody else stepping in and saying, what are you doing? Get out of her car. Another man having to stand right next to me just so I can pump my gas. Aggression can look a lot of different ways. Why I think it's so common is because, one, just we exist in this rape culture. Two, you know that you're able to dominate. The man knows he's able to dominate the situation. You're not just jumping into some rando guy's car. That's not just impulsively executed. But you're doing this to a female, to me, because you've already sized me up, basically. You've already decided this is not going to turn violent for you, most likely. I'm not, the man is not feeling threatened in the situation. And so I believe unconsciously, and that's what I'm not trying to say like, oh, men are just a bunch of predators. I believe unconsciously men make these decisions knowing that they are not ultimately in a losing battle. I'll give you another example. I'm in this heated conversation with this guy at a bar, and he is screaming at me. He's screaming at me because we just don't see eye to eye. But the man sitting next to him, in the same heated conversation, he speaks with his inside voice. He speaks very respectfully. This man is not agreeing with him either, but he completely checked his attitude in talking to this man. Again, I've been sized up. You've already decided that you can handle me. Even if you're not thinking predatorily, you know that man versus woman, you win as a man. A lot of men use that to their advantage. And that's all. And so that's why I have to say that it is prevalent. It's not a marginal few. I don't think every man is a rapist necessarily. Not every guy is that guy who's going to jump out the bushes and completely disregard the fact that he does not have consent. I will say a lot of men are willing to push that envelope, push past resistance to see if they can convince somebody into a yes, which is not that's
not consent anymore.
That's dirty cool. That's it's right, and that's not cool. Like, I really wish that could be eradicated. I really wish that would stop. That it's you should not just choose to dominate a situation. You should not put a woman in a position to have to be willing to fight for her life. Because this is an everyday thing. That's something else I want men to understand. This is an everyday thing. This is exhausting. Yes, thank you. This is exhausting. It's to spend your whole life having to figure out, how can I how could I reduce the likelihood of me being assaulted today? How?
So I,
Oh,
what
go ahead.
I'm getting from you, what I'm getting from you, Bobby, is that it's more of a fear than a lot of men are actually taking in or are actually processing. We don't understand the fear that goes on in different aspects of things. We're just looking at it from one point. All right,
I think men
David.
here. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, David. Yes.
I was going to ask David. David, we've been hearing a lot of things come out now where people say that you should automatically believe the woman. What do you think about that? Do you think a woman should automatically believe when she accuses somebody of rape, sexual assault, or sexual harassment?
I don't know. I mean, that's a case by case basis. I can't say they should be believed. I can't say they shouldn't be believed either. I'm just not the guy to ask. I'm going neutral there.
Case by case basis.
Yeah.
All right. What did you say, P? What you say, Prince?
Yeah, I definitely think that here's how I go about it personally, right? And I learned this recently. This is not something that I've have adopted. I recently adopted this ideology. So, basically, when a woman says that she's been raped and she's been sexually assaulted or sexually harassed, the rule of thumb for me is just believe them, right? It doesn't mean, I'm just talking about right off the bat. Instead of, like I said, because what happens the majority of the time is, in the society, what we do is when they say that, we instantly start act like well, why were you there? What were you doing? You know what I'm saying? We instantly start going in on the woman. So my belief, the way that I get down is that I just believe the woman off the bat, right? Because statistics show that she's telling the truth the vast majority of the time. So the smart bet is to believe the woman. It doesn't mean that going forward you have to just be like I've seen stuff saying we believe all survivors and yada yada yada. I mean, you should off the bat, you should believe all quote unquote survivors off the bat, but as information comes out, then you have to process the new information and then you make a more informed decision at that point, right? But I give you another example for black people because this is how I understood sexism. This is the day that the more I understood about racism, the more I understood sexism, right? And then I got to the point to where now I feel like I pretty much I get sexism. Of course, I don't experience it anywhere like a woman or anything like that. Just like a white person can, fully understand where a black person's coming from, but a white person can be like, I totally understand where you're coming from, right? Like they just get it and they accept it, and that's where I'm at with sexism. So the way that I look at it is like if the police come out, if a person is killed by the police, right, or if a person is assaulted by a police officer, and they say I was assaulted by officer such and such, the rule of thumb is that the black community, we just tend to believe them because we know, because we've experienced this shit. We know that the vast majority of the time they're not lying, right? That's how it is with rape. It's the same fucking thing. Why? It's just hard for black men because we're men, and now we got that going for us now that we're men, so we can't empathize, right? So basically, all it is just turning that switch of, oh shit, it's the same thing. It's like when the police beat up a black person, I just believe the black person. Just believe the woman. You're gonna be right 99% of the fucking time, dude. If you believe the woman, the 1 or whatever, the 10% of the times you're wrong, cool, take it, nigga. Keep it pushing. But the vast majority of the time, you're going to be right. So I just believe the woman right off the bat. I don't care how fat she is. I don't care how unattractive she is. I don't care how famous the person. I don't give a fuck. I don't care who he was. I don't care if he was Bill Cosby. I don't give a fuck who he was. If they say that a woman says that she was raped or assaulted, you believe them. If 50 women say they were raped and assaulted, you definitely gotta fucking believe that one of them was fucking raped. Maybe 2, at the least. And all it takes is 1 for you to be a rapist. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I go about that. To me, it's really not that. It shouldn't be that hard for men to understand that, but we don't want to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to feel victimized.
So you're saying based on pure stats and probability that you agreeing with the woman first because stats say that you should.
Well, I mean, my own personal experience. Every woman I know, every woman right now in my life that I'm close to, they have all been raped. Just on a personal level, all the women around me have been raped by different men. Every single woman that I know personally, and they have told me this, every single woman has been raped. My wife was raped. Fucking other women that I knew, other women that I know, and none of them reported any of this stuff. So these are the ones that aren't reported. So you have to think about how hard it is for a woman to come forward and say that shit. That's what I'm saying. Like that's the thing that men don't understand. Like we don't understand that shit because we don't want to understand it. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. That's a big problem in our society is that men, we don't want to accept that we are fucking up and we are allowing this shit to happen. Even the men who are good, quote unquote, who don't participate in it. I'm just like I said, I'm just trying to relate it to racism because I feel like more people understand racism, right? Because black women understand racism and they understand sexism. Black men only understand racism. So I'm asking black men. I don't know about white people. I don't want to get into that. You know, that's for y'all to, you know, different for a white man, David. I'm sorry, you know, shit is different because you ain't got the same shit. But I'm gonna talk to black people in this particular case, and it seems like you understand racism. I've heard you talk before too, so you get racism. It's the same fucking thing, bro. It's the same racism, sexism.
David understands everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure David understands it. I didn't want to like assume anything. I'm just letting him know, like I ain't trying to like ostracize him or kick him out of the conversation. I'm just saying like, but that was because that was the way that I understood it. When I started to really understand racism, I was like, oh shit, like with my wife, and my wife was like, one day it just like clicked. She was like, yeah, that's how sexism works. And I was like, and it was like literally like a light bulb went off, and I was like, holy fuck. It's like it's the same fucking thing. And from that day on, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And from that day on, I saw it. Like I got it like fucking Neo in the Matrix when he started to be able to read the code. Like that's how I felt. Like I was like, oh shit, I can see. You know what I'm saying? Like so that's pretty much what it is. So I just feel like if we just turn that switch, then we should be able to see, you know what I'm saying, for what it is.
Bobby, what do you think? Do you think that the woman, or let's not say the woman, let's say that the accuser should always be believed first? I think you muted yourself. Let me see.
My bad, I did. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
I know originally when that was asked, I said no, emphatically. But I like Prince's response to the extent of like, hey, go in with the mindset that she's likely telling the truth, that she's not just, because that's, like I said, it's a hard thing to be able to acknowledge, to admit. I mean, for yourself, unless you were just hella demented. And sorry if I guess I'm offending. No, I'm not sorry if I'm offending anyone. Unless you're just really off in the head, that's a hard thing to speak out loud. Not just because of the society we live, but because that's no more than you want to admit that you married somebody who's willing to black your eyes, every day. Like it's hard. No more than you're willing to say that you're still in love with a chronic cheater. There's things that it's just a hard pill to swallow. So to go ahead and admit it out loud to the world, that's a hard thing to do. So I like the general rule of believe the victim, because that doesn't necessarily say that you're going to prosecute the offender. It doesn't say like, oh, we need to immediately put this guy in jail. It's just saying go in with this open mind and being willing to listen to her full story. Because if you go in disbelief, you've already decided to discredit her. You're waiting for her to say things so you can jump in there and say why she must be a liar. But if you go in there assuming she's an honest person, because what happens with that is, like with many lies, is that you can go in with like, hey, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, and when stories start sounding fishy, it's going to reveal itself. There's going to be some inconsistencies in her story or whatever, and at that point you're saying, hey, how are you in 2 places at the same time? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? All of that. But if you, like I said, so it's just I like his approach to it. I gotta respect Prince's answer, and so yeah, I would say you can generally decide to believe the victim until you hear the rest, the full story, because it doesn't mean that you're giving this guy a label. It just means that you're willing to hear her out.
All right. And hey, fellas, I want to tell you guys thanks for coming on. I got a couple more questions that I want to ask Bobby because she's the sole woman on the panel, so I'm going to ask her two more questions. So if you guys want to let everybody know where you are and where they can find you, let them know. Prince, you want to let everybody know where they are and where they can find you?
Nah, I don't do nothing, man. I don't want nobody following me, so y'all. I don't need
They
nobody
can catch
following me.
you. They can catch you here.
I'm just here kicking it with y'all, just like chopping it up with people. I'm a regular ass, extra regular motherfucker, so yeah.
Hey Prince, I always thank you for coming on, man. Your opinion is always needed and necessary here, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Hey, nice to talk to all y'all, man.
All right, David. Let everybody know where they can find you. Where can we go find that comedy?
Nowhere, man. I'm not doing it yet. So I just and now he didn't want to plug himself. I want to look cool too and say I don't care. Like I don't want people to follow me either, but
Man,
I do want to
plug
get this money
yourself.
from doing some hip hop. Just check out my latest song. Just go to YouTube and put Coach with a K, Koach, Coach Roast. My name David Pace. I just roasted my ex-boss who fired me over some stupid shit. So I just wrote a song about him like in 3 days and I posted it and I sent it to everybody he knows. Basically, I'm trying to steal his job as a karaoke host. So check it out. It's a really cool song. It's on Devante Comedy, Divante Comedy. One
David,
word.
do me a favor and leave that in the comments where people could go and check out the song and check it out and post it on my page and on Soapbox page so we make sure people see it and get some feedback on it.
Okay, cool.
All right, David, I appreciate you. Always appreciate when you come on. I love David's honesty. All right, Dave, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, man. Peace, guys.
Peace. All right, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I didn't tell you this was kind of a spur of the moment decision, but I decided to keep you on last to ask you some questions. I like the way that you explain things and break things down.
I appreciate that.
We were talking on one of the posts, and it was about if a man is kissing a woman on the neck and she giggles and says stop, where does he go too far? You mentioned something about a woman giggling could be fear. Can you explain to people? I'm going to ask you two questions before we go out. Can you explain to people the fear that a woman may go through? And also, I hear a lot of people say, well, why do women wait? And also, can you explain why women wait as a woman?
Okay, so to the first question, that fear that you go through,
Fear, right.
I can say myself personally, I'm in this situation with the idea that I've been sized up pretty much. And I'm not saying that in this like intense scenario where like, oh, he's decided that he could dominate me or that he's deciding to do this already and this is obviously going to be, go left. I mean that I know that toe to toe, if something jumps bad, I'm not going to win in a fist fight. I'm not, if he's able to pin me down in any sort of way, or if he decides to dominate me physically, he can do just that. I've played that scenario in my head already. And it's nothing that, I guess I want to say, it's nothing that you think about too heavy. Women kind of have this, or I should say a lot of women have this checklist that we go through to try to ensure that we are not assaulted in any way, shape, or form. And so when you're now in this situation that looks like it's going to go further than you want it to, some women, and it's myself included, you don't necessarily want that situation to escalate. You don't want it to become this angry, hostile environment. A lot of times, like I said, it's not just the guy, that the random stranger that's hopping out of the bushes. It's the person that you know, that you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I think men need to keep in mind that sometimes it's the guy that's been the friend for so many years that just up and decided he doesn't want to be just friends anymore. Sometimes it's the coworker. Sometimes it's the boss. Sometimes it's the uncle, the cousin, the brother, the stepdad, the actual dad. And you don't want that. You get in this mind frame of like, this can't be it. This can't be what he's trying to do. You get in this state of denial. Like, nah, he's tripping. And if I tell him, let me just tell him to slow down, back off, and this is going to be over. And then it doesn't stop there. And you're like, damn it. This cannot be. I can't believe this is going down. He's really trying it. Okay, please, I'm gonna ask again, and you try. And so when it's the whatever, let's say you're just on a date and you try to giggle, you do get in this state of mind that's like this. He can't be that guy. He's gonna listen to me. I'm saying no. I'm saying no. I'm trying to be cool about it. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be pleasant. Because another thing about, especially black women, we get pegged with being unnecessarily aggressive all the fucking time. And so as soon as we say, hey, nigga, get off me, now, oh, why you being a bitch? All of a sudden, it's like this has never happened, as if you weren't being too aggressive. Now we're some type of bitch. Right. Now we get to be name called, so it's like we can't win. Especially as a black woman, you just can't win. And so if I'm docile, then obviously I wanted it. If I'm aggressive about it, then like, oh, why you being so rude? Wasn't nobody I hear that so many times where I say, hey, I don't want to have sex. When nobody trying to have sex with you, you always making this something. It gets turned on me so quickly, like I'm just crazy.
Right. What about? Oh, I was going to ask you, what about power? Not just physical power, but what about a man who has a lot of social power, who have a lot of social influence? Is that something that could lend to a woman being afraid, her feeling like she might not be heard because somebody is the mayor, the police chief, or somebody famous?
That's a big part of the aftermath. That's a big part of the aftermath, but even going into it, it's like I said, I know I have I should say this. So I have now created the rule. If I am not ready for any sort of sexual engagement, I don't go over. I don't find myself in close quarters with a guy. If I'm not ready for it to go there, you will never catch me in your house, in your room, whatever it is. It's not going to happen. We are straight public venues until I'm ready for the prospect of it to go there. I'll sit with you. I'm sorry. And so, in those quick moments that it looks like the tables are going to turn, all of that plays in your head of who this person is, the clout or the leverage that they have. Like I said, that you don't even want it to go down like this, that you are just incredulous that this could even be happening, that this has to be some misunderstanding, or that you're going to like, whatever, eventually he's going to snap out of it. You hope for the best. You really do. You don't want it to go down this way when it's in this intimate setting. Because you did just like, I hear men say this a lot, and I know it's in jest. I hear men say like, "Oh, if such and such happens, she wants the dick. If she come over, she wants the dick. If she gave you her number." My ex has said that. As soon as I get her number, I know she wants the dick. That's not what that means. That's not what that means at all. And so you've already played out in your mind how like, oh, apparently he's decided this thing about me. And one of those things is definitely the leverage that this guy may have over you, the clout that he may have, and you not wanting to go through any more damage in the wake of this, in the aftermath of this. And so, yeah, it does make you be tight-lipped.
Right. And so, and does that lend hand to why some women wait long, or some women don't say anything at all? Because I keep hearing people say, well, she didn't say anything, or why do women wait so long, or this person must be lying because they waited. They didn't come out right away and say that these things happen. Why do people wait?
So oftentimes you wait because there is this definite denial period that this has even happened to you. And then you go through this this period of self-blaming and shame that, okay, this happened because I was too flirty in our conversation, I even came over here in the first place. That's why this happened. This couldn't have been rape because I knew better than to go over there. I knew better than to wear this outfit. I knew better than to say what I said. I shouldn't have joked the way I joked. I shouldn't have been such a tease. You say all these things to try to convince yourself that you have not been victimized in this way, because it's a hard blow to your emotions and to your mental stability when you come to terms with victimization. It's a heavy cross to bear, and so you keep quiet initially because you're first trying to even process that this has even happened. Secondly, who's going to believe you? And you go through that. You can go through that for a very long time, that you already know somebody will be waiting as soon as you open your mouth to discredit you. In college, so I too am a victim of sexual assault. In college, I absolutely said no. I ran to the door. He pushed the door closed. He held the door closed. He pried my hands off the door. I was picked up. I was dropped to the ground. It was all, and this is the same guy that said, "Oh, you're trying to be a good girl."
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this mental warfare that he tried to engage me in. In the aftermath of that, I'm in this moment of, nah, this can't be it. Like that's what I get for being. I'm too flirty. That's what happened. I flirted too much and I gave off the wrong signals and I had it coming. And that's what I decided. It didn't matter how often
you blamed yourself.
I blamed myself. It didn't matter how often I was saying no. I let all of that escape me. The fact that I said no, the fact that he literally pinned the door shut, that he literally pried my hands off the doorknob. I let all of that evade me, and I just decided, I'm a tease, and that's why it happened. And so I was warned about him prior to the fact. A girl said, "Be careful," because the whole reason I was over there was to help him with. This is in college. It was to help him with a paper. That was my little hustle in college, that I would write people's papers. Okay, and so I went over there to collect material for it, and he was saying like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie with me because that's a part of the paper." And then one thing became a whole other tragic situation, and so I was able to put two and two together. And with the girl that warned me, I was like, "Oh," she never said like, "Hey, he's violent, he'll do some shit." She never said that. I put two and two together. I'm like, "Oh, that's why she was warning me about this dude." Fast forward a few weeks later, I hear this other group, these two girls in my class, talking about him, and she is flat out calling it what it was. Her friend convinced her not to say anything just on the grounds of no one's going to believe you, because he was a frat guy, and he was like uber frat guy, like charming and like cool ambassador type guy, And so yeah, she was like, nobody gonna hear that shit, like just like make your life easier and just move on. And I felt so bad in that moment, because I'm like, okay, I could have teamed up with her and maybe we could have gone through this together. Maybe we could have spoken against this together. I don't know how many women came after me because I neglected to say something. And I'm still very tight-lipped about that story. I mean, obviously now I've told a bunch of people, but like I've never spoken his name out loud to anybody except for one person in the history of this happening. I've told one person who he is, just because I've feared that backlash, and it doesn't make the story less true. You go through this thing, and then there's this, opening Pandora's box. It's opening you up to being victimized all over again, to somebody trying to slut shame, for somebody trying to pick your story apart, and it almost doesn't seem worth it. When the odds are just so stacked up against you, it's like, why would you say something? What is to gain from it? For just to see the person not even get locked up, to experience little to no reprimand or repercussion for his actions. What do you go through that for? What do you get called a hoe and a slut assiduously for nothing to happen? So it's like, and that was my moment of fear while I was in that moment in college, listening to this girl who is, like I said, she is fearlessly identifying it as that and is looking for encouragement. Oh, my phone is dying.
Okay. Well, that was it. That was the last question. So, you there? Look like Bobby's phone went dead. But yeah, that was the last question. I hope everybody got something out of what she was saying. I kept her on so she can explain some questions that we ask ourselves, or explain some things that men might not know, or just people in general. I always hear people say, why do women wait? Why do women take so long? And from what she says, there's a lot of existential circumstances to it. It's not as easy as it sounds. And so I do hope Bobby get a chance to come back so she could talk about her book one more time. And if she watches this later, go ahead and add the comments, add the information in the comments. Let me look down there and see if anybody has anything to say. Beverly Ann White says, you also worry about your family members going to prison. Yes. Barbara Blewett says, she is absolutely on point. Beverly Ann White says again, she says, women become victims more than once when they tell. And I think that's a lot of the gist of what Bobby was saying, is that when women say something, a lot of times people come out and they shame the woman who is saying something. Beverly Ann White again says, no means no. And with that being said, thank you for you guys' comments. Thank you guys for your time. This has been Soapbox Heroes. Hey, guys, share sometime. Share with some people. Invite some people. Let them know what we're doing. A lot of people always say, I really like what you're doing. Well, if you really, 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 really like what we're doing here, then go ahead and let a couple people know. Don't be afraid to join the panel. Don't be afraid to be a guest. We often have people have to say, I want to be on, I want to get on, and then they get cold feet before we come on, which I do understand. Continue to watch, even if you say I'm going to come on and don't come on. We don't want to lose you as a viewer, but don't be afraid. This is about dialogue. This is about people learning, us getting to know each other and know what other people think. Even shows like today, we put things out there so people can grab onto them and hold on to it and learn a few things. So this has been Soapbox Heroes. Bobby just let me know that her phone has died. Stephen Kendrick, what's up with you, big bro? Tashana Scott, thanks for watching. Mark Hutchins, thanks for watching. You and Megan, don't be over there arguing about these topics. All right, everybody. Beverly Ann White, I want to give a special thanks for you to watch. I've been telling Karina for weeks to try to get you to watch. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Everybody that came on, we appreciate it. Daryl Moonrock Taylor, thanks. We appreciate it. Marcus Mick Odessa Bracy, thanks for watching, Mick. I had to get Mick to re-download Facebook so he could watch it. Mick helped me with a lot of the questions. He helps me sometimes with the technical things going on in the show. He had to work tonight, so he couldn't be the sidekick. I also want to give a very, 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 very huge, large thank you to Daryl D. Douglas II. Daryl has been helping me get people on the show. He's been a big part, a big help. Live Black and in Color. Thank you, Daryl D. This is Soapbox Heroes. My name is Tyrone Irvin. You guys check out this ad. Hit these people up. Have a good evening.
Making beautiful look easy is what she does. Follow Ashley Hutchins on Facebook or Instagram. Professional catering, contact Cali Food Pros for some of the best food in Southern California. Service with a smile. If you need a certified carpet cleaning, contact Optimum Cleaning Services. Not only do they do carpet, they do so much more. For the most delectable cheesecake you ever have in your life, contact the Sir Charles Cheesecake Co., only using the best of ingredients. any real estate questions, contact Natasha French at Coast to Coast Home Consultants. And any ladies out there, if you need any advice on being an entrepreneur or real estate, go ahead and look at her page, Stiletto Entrepreneur. If you need it, they got it. Right there downtown Riverside at Harris Family Thrift. And if you need to be moved, contact them for that too. Harris Family Moving Service. Be sure to go to your app store and download Dash Radio. Make sure you tune in to Friendly Fire Radio on Fridays and check out Tawan Corey Carr. And you can catch me on Fridays at 5 o'clock Central on KCOH 92.9 HD on your FM dial with the legendary Ralph Cooper, where we discuss sports, social issues, and all type of topics. Tune in. I guarantee you'll love it. Thank you for watching Soapbox Heroes. Without you, we're nothing. See you next week.
All right, y'all. We out of here. One more thing. Tune in to Soapbox Heroes. Make sure you check us out. Turn on your notifications. When you see our little event flyers, go ahead and hit interested or hit going so you can get a notification when we come. We're the most honest thing on the internet. We're the most honest thing around. So make sure you check us out. We the real people right here. This is real media, real news, real people. Soapbox Heroes. I am Tyrone Irvin.